Hey, what's up? This is Chosen. Long time no see here on the Diablo 4 channel, but I do definitely still try to dive in and experience the new seasons and keep my ear to the ground on what is going on in the Diablo sphere, because I do really enjoy the franchise and have played all of the Diablo games, including Diablo Immortal, very extensively. So I thought it would be fun to take a look. I kind of like diving into the macro perspectives of what's going on behind the scenes. What are the trends on the internet? What are the player trends and the overall health of the game within what the data is telling us? So we're going to take a look at Diablo 4 compared to some of the other Diablo games when they had an expansion come out. And I'll talk about some of the biggest reasons that I've had for not playing the game a ton recently, and if anything is going to be changing with the new expansion coming to Diablo 4 in regard to those issues that I was personally having with the game. So let's get into it. And a big shout out to Surfshark for sponsoring this video, because nowadays in this digital world that we all live in, everyone can get value out of having a good, solid VPN. And Surfshark is an award-winning VPN that allows you to use the internet without any sort of logging or tracking going on, shield all of your different devices from things like viruses, and this is a big one, also help guard your identity from being stolen, plus all sorts of different benefits that Surfshark has to offer. And one really big benefit that I know a ton of people, including myself, get value out of by having a good VPN like Surfshark is there's a lot of shows that are region locked or on different devices for different countries and different streaming services. Well, if you have a VPN, you're going to be able to unlock that content for yourself to view no matter where you live. And now is a really good time to get started, because Surfshark has actually provided me with a promotional link down in the show notes. So if you use that link that I provided for you down below, you can get up to an extra 4 months of Surfshark. And really quickly, I want to make sure you know about this one feature, because this is a big deal to me. A single Surfshark subscription works simultaneously on multiple different devices, protecting your entire household. No need for the nonsense shenanigans of having a bunch of different accounts trying to synergize within your own home. You only need one subscription of Surfshark. So you really got nothing to lose. Navigate on down to the link I provided for you in the show notes, the Chosen Plays promotional Surfshark link. And I really appreciate Surfshark being super cool and sponsoring content here on the channel. So now let's get back into the video. Okay, so first of all, why haven't I been playing a ton of Diablo 4 in the last few seasons? I would say that for me personally, I don't know if this is a majority opinion or a hot take, or if people disagree or whatnot, but for me, it wasn't very hyped to play a season where experience-wise, XP farming-wise, my character was maxed out the first day. Like I log in, I power through the game as an experienced player, I hit level 100 in like 7, 8, 9 hours, whatever it is, on either day 1 or day 2, and then I'm completely done the entire season. XP wise, it's just capped, and I'm getting nothing in terms of XP from slaying mobs and clearing dungeons and all that good stuff, which for me at least was a huge letdown, and it kind of crushed my motivation to keep playing the game. So I would eventually get bored after a few days and then bow out of a season. Now, maybe I'm a little bit biased, because my experience kind of growing up through the gaming scene was that I really loved the Diablo 3, and I was a Diablo 3 content creator for a few years and was in one of the higher ranked hardcore clans and all of that. So I really did enjoy, and this will be a hot take because I know a lot of people hate the Paragon mechanic. I actually really liked how Diablo 3 did it. You dive into a new season in Diablo 3, you don't have to do the campaign, you just go straight into leveling efficiently however you want to do it. If you want to clear rifts, if you want to group up, if you want to be solo, whatever, you don't got to play the campaign. You just go in and you start leveling and you execute on whatever plan you thought would be most efficient for you. Then you hit max level in like 2, 3, 4, 5 hours, depending on how experienced of a player you are and if you're in a group and all that stuff. Then you dive straight into the Paragon leveling system, which basically never maxes out. It would essentially max out at like 3,000, where it would become impossible almost to farm more Paragon levels, but it was still really exciting for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks to be leveling up your Paragon and going from 100 to 500 to 1000 to 1500. And every day that you played, even if you didn't maybe get an awesome new drop, like a new primal weapon or something, you still felt like, okay, but I farmed a couple hundred Paragon levels, and the next time I play tomorrow, the game is going to be easier for me, and I'm going to be able to progress further because I did at least acquire some Paragon levels. So swinging back to the Diablo 4 discussion, and we can see some of the trends here on screen that we'll dive into here in a little bit. That was a little bit of a bummer for me personally, capping out my XP so soon, and then basically getting no progression unless I'm upgrading my gear. And if you have been out of the loop a little bit in terms of Diablo 4 news recently, they did come out with the expansion pack for Diablo 4, the Vessel of Hatred, earlier this month. I'm releasing this video towards the end of October, beginning of November. They did release the expansion pack on October 8th, 2024. And that coincided with the launch of a new season for players to kind of reset everything and enjoy the Vessel of Hatred, a new addition to the game from scratch with everybody leveling up a brand new character. So then when we dive into the numbers of what happened, you can see this is the Diablo 4 just overall web search traffic the last 5 years. Obviously right here, this massive spike in early June of 2023 would have been the release of Diablo 4, and when it was obviously going to be at its peak, when it was the new hype honeymoon phase, a darling of a game in the gaming industry. And then this spike right before that big release, that would have been when they did that open beta where you could level up to like level 25, and it was kind of received mostly positively from what I remember when people were only playing level 1 to 25. That was that first bump right here. Then the release, and then it kind of tapered down to about 4 or 5, probably a 5 or so, about 5% of the overall internet velocity compared to the launch of the game. So was there a big boost with the Vessel of Hatred expansion pack? Well, that new season would have launched kind of right here. This would be that little bump you could see in like October 6 to 12, where it bumps up to a 14. Now the previous seasons, you're getting bumps of like, 10, 16. So the expansion pack really was kind of in line. Not a this previous bump was 10 and the expansion pack was 14. But for me, analyzing things from a macro perspective, that would seem a little bit alarming. Like you would expect the bump to go up closer to like 20, 25 compared to the overall release that hit 100. But let's not be biased. Let's compare this to when Diablo 3 released their expansion pack and how close it got to the peak that it had on release. So, okay, here we go. We've added Diablo 3, the same exact term, Diablo 4, Diablo 3, and let's go back here on the data. So you can see Diablo 3 was a massive release. It even had more internet velocity traffic, according to the Google Trends here, than Diablo 4 did. And I do remember it being that big of a deal. I remember the midnight release and Error 37, and I was in college at the time, and I had friends coming over and bringing their computers. It was a big deal. There was lines outside of Best Buy for the midnight release, and even people that I just like worked with who weren't necessarily like hardcore gamers, they were excited about Diablo 3, and basically everybody I knew was wanting to dive in and play Diablo 3 on release. So that wouldn't surprise me at all if on release there was a little bit more internet velocity for Diablo 3 compared to Diablo 4. But the expansion pack Reaper of Souls for Diablo 3 would have been in March of 2014. So did that get a higher boost than 16 that we saw the expansion pack for Diablo 4 get? So we scroll on over here to March of 2014. This is going to be right here. This bump is going to be from Reaper of Souls releasing for Diablo 3 as the expansion pack add-on, and we can see the number right there is 23, which I was expecting that to be closer to the number for Diablo 4. I was expecting it to get up to like 20, 25 instead of 16. So Diablo 3's expansion pack got about a quarter of the player base, 23%, to kind of dive in and get a little bit of a bump there, and then it slowly trickled off from there and really crashed down to leveling out at about 3% of its expected player base compared to the launch of the game. So then if we go back to that Diablo 4 chart, you can see that it basically went up to about 15 compared to the 23 or low 20s of Diablo 3. So not a complete disaster. It's not like there was no bump at all, but it definitely wasn't the bump that I would have anticipated, and they weren't able to get 25% of the player base to really dive in and at least show up in the internet velocity. We don't have a perfect metric to go by. I wish we could get like active player numbers and all that, but usually what I use to analyze that is going to be Steam, and we don't really get Steam data for a Blizzard game in relation to Diablo 4, so it's hard for me to really give you concrete data on the concurrent players and how many players are diving into new seasons like I can with something like Path of Exile. And I definitely was super excited for the Diablo 4 expansion pack, but for some reason, it just didn't grab me. Reaper of Souls really grabbed me for Diablo 3. I had quit Diablo 3 after like the whole auction house fiasco and all that. I had quit the game. And then ever since Reaper of Souls came out, it really roped me in, and I played a ton of Diablo 3. It might be my most played game ever in my gaming life in terms of hours spent on a game. Diablo 3 might be it for me, and Reaper of Souls, the expansion pack coming out, is what roped me in. That just didn't happen yet for Diablo 4 for whatever reason. I logged into the new season, I made a new character, and I was kind of playing through the story and playing through the campaign, and it just didn't grab me. I got bored for whatever reason, and I stopped playing, and I quit being excited to log in and develop my character. But it is an objectively better game. Diablo 4 is a lot better now with the expansion pack than it was on launch. So I can't put my finger on it, on exactly why. I can't give you like a scientific reason on why it wasn't able to rope me in and get me excited about the new season. I guess the main issue for me, and this is going to be a hot take that people disagree with, the main issue for me is I absolutely hate being forced to play campaigns. And again, that's probably my Diablo 3 bias, because in Diablo 3 seasons, I could just log in and go kill stuff. I could just log in and go do rifts. I could just log in and do whatever I want. I could do bounties, rifts, whatever. I wasn't forced and slammed into a story campaign. Path of Exile does that to me on new seasons. They forced me to play the campaign, and it's why I never became a Path of Exile player. I was like, no thanks. I don't want to do that every season, every hero. Diablo 4 is forcing me to play a campaign before I can just dive in and go kill stuff. So that was probably a pretty big reason why, for me personally, even though you may disagree, for me personally, probably the biggest contributing factor as to why Diablo 4 couldn't quite rope me in. Even though it's not like it takes 40 hours or something to play through the campaign, it's not that big of a deal in the overall scheme of things. I'm sure that was a contributing factor as to why Diablo 4 didn't quite rope me in. But you never know. I may get super excited about the upcoming seasons, and there may be a big patch that really lights me up and makes me want to play the game, and then I'll start doing build guides and all that crazy stuff here on the channel. So you just never know, because Diablo has always kind of been a part of my gaming life in some capacity. But yeah, let me know your thoughts down below and your experience with Diablo 4 and the expansion pack and the release, and if it hyped you up and all of that good stuff. So I appreciate all of you. Thanks for watching. Have a good rest of your day. Peace.